Hello everyone, this is a short demo on how to set up continuous integration using Circle CI on a Drupal 8 project. Here I have created a very simple Drupal project with Drupal Composer. Following the instructions that are in its README file, I just run this command, composer create project, and I rename this setting. And then once I got the project built, I committed everything and pushed it into this repository. Also, I adjusted the README file, so it's not confusing. So, assuming that this is the structure of your project, now we're gonna add all the Circle CI tooling. So, whenever we push something, Circle CI runs a few checks for us automatically and provides feedback. So let's start. I'm gonna now go to Drupal 8 CI. This is a repository that contains all the files required to add to our Drupal 8 project. Everything is handled by this script that downloads them and adjusts your project automatically. So I'm gonna copy this line here on this screen. I have the Drupal 8 project that I just showed you in GitHub and the terminal that is already pointing to this directory. So I'm gonna paste this command and hit enter. It's right now downloading a few dependencies via Composer, Behat dependencies, coding standards, code snipper, tool for taking screenshots with Behat and things like that. You can see that it's now installing the dependencies, and further above we can see that it also adds a few files. There's a demo module that contains a kernel test and a unit test, so we can run them in the Circle CI jobs. But if you already have unit and kernel test, then great, they will run automatically as well. This is just for cases where there's no testing implemented in your Drupal 8 project. So this has finished. So let's see what we have. I run git status. It has changed our composer JSON file and log file. We now have a directory called Circle CI, robo file, tests, and web modules custom. I'm gonna add everything to the index, and I'm gonna show the list of changes. So this Circle CI config via YAML file is the configuration file that Circle CI looks for running jobs. I'm using a custom Docker image that adds everything that Drupal needs and some of the jobs need as well. To complete, you can use built-in Circle CI images, and you can just create your own image if you want to. If you're already using Docker in your project and you want to use your custom image, you can do that too. The sky is the limit for in Circle CI for these kind of things. And then there are further down here we can see each of the jobs. This is the job that runs unit and kernel tests. This is the one that runs Behat tests. Further down we have the one that runs code sniffer, which checks for coding standards, and the next one generates a code coverage report just to tell us how much of our code our tests are covering. And then finally we're defining a workflow, so these 4 jobs can run in parallel, and we'll see this in action as soon as we commit and push these changes. Next is a Behat YAML file. This is used by Behat to run tests within a Circle CI job. No need to get into further details. The PHP unit configuration for running unit and kernel tests. Here's the trick on this config file is looking for files that are under modules custom, and it's excluding the test directory of each of these modules for generating coverage reports. Further down, Robo file. Robo is a PHP task runner. We use this here for installing Drupal, adjusting Composer JSON file if it's needed during on runtime, What else do we have here? Running Rush, for example, and it's just an easier way to run some of the bash commands using PHP instead of shell scripting. These are the changes in Composer JSON. We have the main extension by Behat, the Selenium driver, the tool that we use to take screenshots in Behat, the coder project that is used for checking coding standards, and Drupal extension is the glue code between Drupal and Behat. Composer JSON, I'm going to skip it because it's quite long. Let's go further down to the bottom. This is a default Behat file that you can use to run locally. This is a domain that you would change. It's just a sample. When CircleCI runs, it overwrites this file on runtime with another one that we have seen further above. These are the default feature context file, so you can define custom Behat steps. It's empty for the moment. This is a dummy demo feature that just opens Drupal and checks that there is a welcome page. You would normally write your own feature files in your project to check that the main logic in the web interface works as you expect, but this is just a foundation for you to start from. This is a demo module that contains a service, and it implements a kernel test that checks the service and a unit test that tests the service. This is just for you to see how to write and run these tests in CircleCI. And that's it. So let's commit this and push it to the repository. Add CircleCI integration or in master. Right. So at this point, we have all the CircleCI integration in the repository. What we now need to do is to allow CircleCI to read the repository, discover the CircleCI directory, and run the jobs. So I'm going to go now to circleci.com. I already have an account here, and I'm at the project section. I'm going to add this new project by clicking here. And then what was the name? It's D8 CircleCI. D8. There you are. Here's the one. I'm going to click on Setup Project. Now CircleCI has here a tutorial on how to add the config YAML file. Thing is that we've already done this. The script that we have run locally has done it for us, so we don't need to copy the template and adjust it. We can go ahead and just click on Start Building, which I just did. As you can see, it automatically started running with what it has already on master. This is a workflow that contains 4 jobs. I'm going to click here, and here we can see the 4 jobs. One checks code coverage, runs unit and kernel tests, checks coding standards, and runs Behat tests. They are running in parallel now. I'm going to open a new tab for each of them so we can see how they progress. So let's see, this is code coverage. Right now it's just building pulling in the Docker image, which it has already done. Now it's running the script that we have within the job, which starts by installing all the Composer dependencies. This is going to take a few more seconds, so let's move on to the next one. This one runs unit and kernel tests. If we go, this is the script that the job contains. At the end, it runs PHP unit. So let's go to the bottom of the feedback here. It's right now installing Drupal. So let's give this a few more seconds as well. Coding standards have already completed by the time we're looking at it. You can see here a success badge at the top left corner. If we see this step, set up and inspect coding standards, we can see that there is no particular output here that says that there is nothing broken, but this is how it works. The code sniffer command, when these are the 2 commands that check Drupal's coding standards and Drupal best practices. If these two commands don't return any output, it means that there is no coding standard violations, and that's why we got a success status. So there's nothing wrong here. This job is passing. If we move on to the next one, the BHAT one, I was expecting this one to fail, and the reason why it fails is it's this because just for a quick start, if you manage to get database dump somewhere in a URL, and then you configure the job here by adding an environment variable that points to it, this would be the name of the environment variable, then this job would download that database dump and then run what I call the update path, which means running database updates and importing site configuration. And then it would run BHAT tests, because the difference with BHAT and the other jobs is that you want a running website. So that's why you need to do a full installation, and you have an environment that is as realistic as possible with what you have in production. So this would be the quick way. The better way would be to allow SSH access to your development environment. Also here on the top right corner at the cog, you can do that, and then use a site alias, so you can do drush SQL sync and drush rsync, or instead of drush rsync for the files directory, you could also use stage file proxy, which is even easier to get files from the development environment. If you're curious about this, how to fix this job and get BHAT tests working, I encourage you to look at this section. There you are at the Drupal HCI repository. It gives you a few hints on how to adjust it to your needs. Finally, going back to the first job, code coverage takes a little longer than others, but we can see that it's passing, and it has run the tests and generated the report. If we want to view the report, we click here on artifacts, HTML artifacts. If we click here on the HTML version, gonna open this in a new tab. There you are, 100% coverage. That's it. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any doubts or adding this to your project, please post a comment on the article. Thanks.